Welcome to LNG, Local, National, and Global. I'm Jamai Hakwani. Today I have Senator Tim Eichenberg in my studio today. We're going to talk to him about the run that State Treasurer's Office.
That's correct.
And I think we all saw that coming. We knew you were going to be running. I was hearing from a roundabout way that you were going to be running last year. And I finally got the email saying that Tim is running for. There was a couple other guys I think had dropped out, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Patrick Padilla has subsequently dropped out.
Okay. And so you're basically the only one of the two there, right?
There's two of us now.
There's two. So tell us a little bit. I know you. I'm sure you had a little bit time to think about it. You were in the Senate there. You're leaving the Senate. I figure 2008, correct? You came into the Senate.
I came into the Senate in 2008. I was elected. My first session was in 2009 with the legislature. Tremendous process that we go through in making laws, but very rewarding. Enjoyed the experience very much.
Made lots of friends there in the Senate.
Lots of friends in the Senate.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that a lot of my colleagues have endorsed my candidacy for the state treasurer. I feel very honored and very privileged for that.
Yeah, I saw that. You have lots of endorsements there and stuff. What was the experience like in Senate as far as you walking in there first? Give us a little bit of how you felt when you walked in there. Was there something that surprised you about the Senate? And I know it's hard to tell when you walk in there what's going to happen.
Well, I had some experience in just watching the Senate and lobbying the Senate as the state's property tax director back in 2004 through 2007. So I was used to the long committee meetings. I was used to the long hours in the evenings of just sitting and watching legislation move slowly through the mill, so to speak. I think as a senator, I was incredibly overwhelmed by the amount of work. I had good staff that prepared me and provided me the documentation and the reading material that was necessary, but I didn't realize how much time went into it, because it truly was not just full-time, but
it's daunting. It's a lot of work, yeah.
It was very
especially the
much so.
commute. Sometimes I've heard that before from, I think someone was telling me that the commute's a lot when you're going through the session there. What did you think about the session, the first one? What was that feeling like?
It was a long session, and I didn't commute. I actually rented an apartment there in Santa Fe.
Oh, you live in Santa Fe? Oh,
And so I would come home on weekends, and I have two dogs that truly miss me, and so it was welcoming to come home and be able to play with the dog, take a walk, catch up on my laundry before I'd go back up.
So the entire duration you were in Santa Fe when you were?
I spent most of it. We don't normally work the first weekend, so it was a pleasure to come home, be with the wife and talk to the kids and what have you. But as the session progressed, I spent less time coming back to Albuquerque on the weekends.
So you like living in Santa Fe? I've never lived in Santa Fe. It's a kind of a different culture there. I like Santa Fe. Don't get me wrong. I like Santa Fe. Go there a lot. I have friends there and stuff. But used to the big city, I think, for me, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I'm sure you like, because you're working there, and I think worked out for you in that sense, I'm sure. So tell me a little bit more. What happened with the first session there? Anything that kind of sticks out to you?
You talk about Santa Fe as compared to Albuquerque, but one of the things that was a little bit more difficult is when the snow hit the ground and you woke up in the morning to drive into the roundhouse. There was a little bit more congestion. The roads were, the snow melts in Albuquerque literally as soon as the sun comes up. It doesn't happen that way in Santa Fe. But the session was a very difficult one because we were truly on the edge of the recession.
Correct. Yeah, that was the 2000 height of it, actually, right there in the beginning. Yeah.
We had an $800 million drop in the budget from 6.4 to 5.6.
Correct. I remember that. Yep.
And that took a lot of work, because what you're doing is you're taking the pie and you're making the slices smaller, and you're denying people that need it the most. Sometimes, in some cases, one less bite of the pie.
Correct.
And so it was a very difficult.
What was the sense like once you guys saw that nationally we're going through, with the housing crisis and all that, and here came all this shocking news out of the national. President Obama just came in. What was that like in the legislature as far as the sense? What was the sense there? Give us a little idea what the legislator was going through there as far as what would happen to our state when you look at the national, compared to the national.
Yeah, our state traditionally is usually behind the national trend. We went into the recession a little bit later. We're seeing that now as the rest of the states surrounding us have started to work their way out of it. Ours is still...
We're lagging.
We're lagging,
we're lagging,
absolutely. But that is something that we've seen forever. I mean, I've lived in Albuquerque my whole life, and I've always seen that. The national trend doesn't get to Albuquerque until later.
I think a lot of it has to do with our geography. We're surrounded by two states that are a lot more happening in some ways, and people tend to move between these three states. We had a lot of people leave New Mexico, move to Texas, move to Arizona, some moved to Colorado. These are the things I was going to talk to you about, getting into your run for state treasurer there. The economics of New Mexico, we depend a lot on federal government, right? For every dollar that we give them, we get $3 back. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's correct.
Yes. So is there at some point you think that we would be less dependent on the federal government? Do you see that happening at some point, or?
Well, I absolutely hope so. We rely so much on Sandia Labs and Los Alamos Labs in New Mexico. We need to create a foundation of small jobs, mom and pa type job. They're the ones that create the small jobs for our families to grow. And we don't have that. And that's what's so disappointing. And one of the reasons why I'm running for state treasurers is 76% of New Mexico's money actually leaves the state of New Mexico. And what we need to start doing is investing New Mexico's money in New Mexico. And that's what I would like to see.
So that's what you would like to do. I'm going to take a short break in a few seconds here. When we come back, let's stay with a little bit with the New Mexico economy, and then we'll go, if we can, go to national. If not, we'll just stick to, we'll see how the conversation goes, okay? But I really want to talk to you a little bit about your office that you're running for, State Treasurer's Office, and then we'll come back and I'll take a little break and come back and talk to you a little bit more.
Well, thank you, John.
We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with Tim Eichenberg.